Sure, we're going to get some Wizards and some NBA in here. A ton of NFL draft as well leading up to Thursday night when the Ravens are on the clock at 16. But the first place Baltimore Orioles, I don't get a chance to say that very often, the best team in Major League Baseball over the first couple of weeks, hosting the Tampa Rays. This guy is the voice of the Tampa Rays, even though he doesn't like to admit this because of the internet, and he does have fans down in Tampa. He is a lifer Oriole fan, a Baltimore guy, an Ellicott City guy. We welcome on the man, the myth, the legend. He is back and knows to not eat tourist crab cakes anywhere near the harbor. He is Andy Freed, the voice of the Tampa Rays. What's going on, man? Friends and family plan for you. You get this act like 3 times a year, right?
It's one of the greatest perks of my job with the Tampa Bay Rays is that I get to come 3 times home to Baltimore, walked over to Adams today, got myself a nice corned beef sandwich.
I bet you did.
And I'm planning on getting crab cakes tomorrow, and it's very, very important to me.
Well, it's the homeland, and the Orioles have held up their end of the bargain, right? Beginning of the year, I gave them 78 wins. I wasn't nice. I don't like the Tillman thing. I don't like the strikeout, home run, never walk thing. I don't like the station-to-station thing. I don't like the bottom of the rotation. But what the hell do I know, Andy Freed? It's baseball. They're in first place, right?
Well, I think the Orioles, I've learned over the last 5 years, just don't underestimate them. I mean, to me, they're the 2 things that the Orioles have. They will always play well in baseball, regardless of sabermetrics, regardless of home runs, regardless of everything. Their bullpen is phenomenal, even though Britton's out, of course. And the infield defense is by far the best in the American League East. Any ground ball is usually an out, and that to me makes such a difference now. And I know they have some questions in the corner outfield spots, but center field solid. So you're looking up the middle and around the infield. They don't make many mistakes, and when that happens, you're going to allow your pitchers to go deeper into games because they don't have to throw as many pitches. It's that simple. With the Rays this year, every time they have made a mistake, the other team has capitalized, and it's been on simple things too. A little toss to a second baseman on a fielder's choice, dropped by Brad Miller in Boston, cost the Rays 24 pitches for the starter. He had to go an inning shorter. They had to get the bullpen in earlier, and our bullpen's not very good, and it blew up. So it's just, people may not appreciate how good the Orioles' infield defense is. It's not that different from Belanger and Brooks and Davey Johnson and Boog over there, I'm telling you.
Well, and I guess for your squad, expectations have been set low, and so far so good. I mean, this is as good a start as I think you guys could hope to be, and especially given the injuries. And, everybody's had it, right? I mean, Tillman and Britton on this side, Hardy's dinged up right now. Obviously, they had Bourne in camp go down. The Red Sox have had the flu and Lord and malaria and whatever the heck they've had, as well as other injuries with David Price. Sanchez went down in the series against the Orioles and the Yankees. And you guys, I don't know how far you expect to go without Odorizzi, right?
Well, that's true. He should be back on this road trip. The thing now is because of this 10-day disabled list, teams aren't waiting around. They're putting a guy on the DL. They can backdate it as much as 3 days. So ultimately, the guy really only misses about a week or so. And you're going to see a lot more DL stints this year for less time. I think it's beneficial to the players and beneficial to the teams also. They can manipulate it a little bit better instead of having to commit to that 15-day deal. I think it really is going to make a difference. So throw a guy on there. The Rays have been hit most damagingly in the bullpen because it was a very thin bullpen coming in. That was our biggest worry overall, is that the starters don't give us innings, and you have to go from, instead of getting maybe 6 outs from your bullpen, after getting 12 outs from your bullpen, it was going to be thin. But now Xavier Cedeno is out, Tommy Hunter, good Oriole, former Oriole guy, is out. Brad Boxberger's out, Sean Tollison's out. So our trouble is getting it to our good closer, Alex Colomé. The Rays bullpen now has 4 guys in it that started the year in the minor leagues. So we desperately need innings from our starters. If not, then you're going to have AAA guys in there.
Well, and then there's the lineup. You guys have hit the ball, and that was the problem. That's been the problem the last couple of years, that even when you had, the first version of Cobb, right, and even Price and going back that far, the offense has been lacking in recent years there, and that's been the hardest thing to replenish, after the Carl Crawfords and those guys went away, right?
Absolutely. And, we needed guys like Steven Souza Jr. to get better, and this year he's getting better. He's hitting in the 350s. He's been leading the American League in hits. Corey Dickerson has come over, and he's hit much better now since the second half of last year. he has the most extra base hits in the American League. So we're starting to find some guys that are hitting a little bit. We need Kiermaier to hit a little more. His defense is very good. I don't know what the situation with him is going to be this series because he has had, they don't know if it's the flu, but he's been sick, and he just has been a shadow of himself overall. But, Longoria and Brad Miller, we don't want them to regress at all because they had really good 36 and 30 homer years last year. But this team has a lot of guys that need to hit. That's, you look at the couple of years when we've fallen just short. This 2012 team won 90 games and had a World Series pitching staff but just couldn't hit. And, it's very hard to replenish those guys. So the guys we really focused on coming into the year was the three outfielders to get better offensively. And they have so far in Kiermaier and Souza Jr. and Corey Dickerson. And we're hoping to get Colby Rasmus back on this road trip. After Baltimore, we go to Toronto and then Miami. And that should add something as well. So hitting has actually been the least of our problems. Incredibly enough, the world is upside down. Our hitting has been fine. It's just been the pitching that hasn't been good enough.
Yeah, Souza Jr.'s turned into a hell of a player, right?
He sure has. And when you think that the Rays, it was a three-team deal, and the Rays could have had Trey Turner. Instead, they flipped him to the Nationals to get Steven Souza Jr. back from them. That was a decision. They could have held on to Trey Turner. He would have been the Rays shortstop. But they decided to go for Souza Jr. First 2 years, injured and just kind of a disappointment. But this year, my goodness, April, he has been a revelation, and he is giving Longoria and Miller some protection in the lineup, which is giving them a few more pitches to hit. He's been good.
Andy Freed joining us here. He is the voice of the Tampa Bay Rays, born in Ellicott City, according to his Wikipedia, and a longtime Oriole fan as a youngster. And you've gone on life's path, man. I mean, Pawtucket, Trenton, Port St. Lucie. I mean, all these places, you live the baseball minor league life, right? And this has been a lot of fun for you, and this is probably the highlight of your year to come back to Baltimore and call these games, right?
Nestor, it is, when I tell you it is my life, I'm the happiest man in the world. I grew up, as so many did in this area, listening to Chuck Thompson, and I remember feeling like I knew him, like we all did, like he was our favorite, uncle or father or grandfather, and the connection I had with him as a kid, like so many people did here, I remember thinking all throughout my childhood, if I could do that one day and maybe make a connection with the next generation of baseball fan, that's my career goal, and that's really been exactly what's going on. We've been growing this fan base in Tampa Bay. This is the 20th year of the franchise, and I really feel like I got in on the ground floor of something. The franchise continues to grow. We're trying to get the new stadium down there, but baseball is much healthier down there than people may realize around the country. And we're growing something good, and it's fascinating to be a part of it. And when I come up here, and I think of Chuck. I mean, to me, I walked the ground where he worked towards the end of his career, and I'm so thrilled that I got a chance to meet him, towards the end. And to me, Chuck Thompson is just everything. And if I can have any sort of connection with a young fan the way he did with me, then my life's complete.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. You instead of ain't the beer cold, you got to work on ain't the grouper tasty, or I don't know what do they do down there, and I do worry about the franchise down there, and I think it's once a year you and I get together, a couple times a year we talk baseball, but it's sort of inevitable that they need more fans. The stadium is what it is and where it is, and I know where it is a big source of an issue down there, and I happen to know a lot of people that live in Bradenton or live in Tampa or live up in Polk County, and it's considered to be a haul. And I remember when that thing sat there without a franchise in the early '90s, and I went down for spring training at Al Lang Stadium with the Jack Voigts and the Brady Andersons and the Ben McDonalds and the Chris Hoyleses, and they were dressing at Hugland Stengels Field up where Babe Ruth played, and it was this half-assed way to run the Orioles, quite frankly. But they were trying to steal a team down there. Now they've had the team for a whole generation. The team's had a lot of success. At some point, they need to build a facility. And Andy, I cover the NFL. I've watched them move 3 teams now in the last 14 months. I know Montreal's angling again. We've got the remnants of all the Nationals and the Masson War here from the last moved franchise. But Oakland and Tampa are those two sort of danglers that, something has to get better there. I don't know what that is, but certainly in both cases, the baseball's been pretty representative this century, right?
Oh, there's no question about it. What hurt our franchise, and I don't want to bore everybody, but what hurt us is that when the Rays got good and people started to get very interested in the team in 2008 is when the economy tanked. And just because, and Florida got hit probably second worst in the country after, say, Detroit. And just because the team is good doesn't mean that it puts another $100 in your pocket to go to the games. All marks of the Rays franchise are a success, except getting enough people at the ballpark. Radio ratings, TV ratings, web hits, merchandise. People love the franchise down there. The brand is very, very popular. popular down there. But it's because of where it's located. We're a very spread out market. It would be something akin to if the Orioles had built their new ballpark, say, down in Essex. And how in the world are you going to get people to come from the northern area that don't want to travel around the Beltway all the way down there, that like the team, that watch the team, that listen to the team, that buy the merchandise, but they don't really want to get in the car?
Well, hey,
and go all the way
downtown's
down
an issue here after the riots. I mean, I'll just,
You bet.
I'll be frank with you. I mean, I live in the city. I poo-poo all of it, but it's a very, very real thing for people to live in the suburbs that say, yeah, it's on TV, and I'm already paying the old man for it, and the beer's cheaper here, and the beer's colder here, and that's a baseball problem. I mean, we played in Cincinnati last week. Andy, it looked like Montreal. It was a friends and family series. I mean, there were, it was kind of alarming, quite frankly, for Cincinnati for me. Probably in the same way people were alarmed by Baltimore 10 years ago when the thing fell apart.
The whole expectation of what attendance should be has changed so much. I mean, I can remember going to Oriole games in April and May as a kid, and you had 15,000 people there. And that's just the way, until school lets out, it's always going to be an issue, especially when the weather's not so good. But look, it's a lot of baseball. It's a lot of commitment. To be a season ticket holder in baseball, you're committing to 81 games. So that's a lot to come to. You're not going to get to every game. But to me, when school lets out and the summer hits, you really want that ballpark to be packed, especially on Friday and Saturday and Sunday. And Monday through Thursday, a representative enough crowd where you can get 20 to 25,000. But that being said, the other problem we have down there is no public transportation. I mean, the only way to get to the ballpark is to drive over these bridges that, frankly, the area just can't support. So we've got issues down there, and much smarter people than I are going to figure this out. But from what we hear, everything behind the scenes is very good for a new stadium for the Rays. It just takes time. It works around election cycles as well. And as you know, these things take a long time to get done, and usually until there's threats, nothing does get done. So everybody is pulling for the franchise down there. Nobody has plans to move to Montreal. Our owner has told us as employees and the fans he's not moving to Montreal. They can be angling all they want, and maybe they'll get baseball at some point, but it's not going to be from the Tampa Bay Rays.
Andy Freed joining us here, the voice of the Tampa Rays in town here, taking on the Orioles, a homecoming for Andy, who is from Howard County. And all right, so you buying what the Orioles are selling right now? I mean, I don't think they're going to play 700 ball the rest of the way or 750 ball, but the 3 and the 4 and the 5 and how Gosman's looked, there are some leaks in the boat, and I don't know that there's a cavalry anywhere, even though the likes of the Aquinos and the Ashers have been suitable on a one-start, one-off basis.
I would tend to agree because in the game of baseball, 162 games, whatever your weakness is, especially if it's starting pitching, that will reveal itself at some point. The Orioles are going to have to win some games this year, 10-8. And I think they do have the offense to do it. But they're a very good fundamental team. They have fabulous leadership in Buck Showalter, and their bullpen's good. So you end up playing a 6-inning game against the Orioles, especially when Britton comes back. If you don't have the lead at the end of 6 innings, I never feel like we're going to win. When they get into O'Day and Brock, and Britton, I just never think we're going to win. They can lock down leads better than maybe any other team with the Astros and with the Yankees. That's why those are the 3 teams that are up towards the top right now, and the Indians too. But there will be times this year where the Orioles are going to have to suck it up and have to deal with bad times going on. But I think they're showing here in the month of April they are at least a representative team. And with their infield defense, with their bullpen, and they'll hit enough. The starting pitch, to me, Dylan Bundy has been incredible, and we're going to see him, I believe, in the 3rd game of the series. And I think he's been great. Gosman has just too good. He's almost like Archer for us. His stuff is just too good to be a mediocre pitcher. At some point, things will click and get better for him, but Tillman is a giant part of the Orioles. But, one thing I've learned, and our GM told me this in spring training off the record, he goes, I've learned never underestimate the Orioles. They're going to figure out a way.
Well, and this division appears to be among the better divisions in baseball. All of these teams do appear to be 81 or better win team potential. The Blue Jays have buried themselves, at least in the here and now. They got a lot of digging to do and soul searching to do there. But, by and large, seeing the Red Sox over the weekend, they felt like the big bad wolf in December, January, and February when they're spending money, coming to terms with losing a legend like David Ortiz and the kind of start they've had. Really strange over the weekend with this Beaning thing and the Machado Pedroia thing. Boy, Machado finds himself in the middle of all of this, doesn't he?
Somehow he does, but I tell you what, our game was going on yesterday. I was riveted watching the back and forth between Pedroia and Machado. I mean, that was great reality television, and watching how that thing played out. How Pedroia kind of turned on his teammates. How he said it wasn't me, it was them. How Machado was reacting to it. Then the post-game comments. That was highly entertaining. And look, I respect Pedroia quite a bit. I mean, I think everybody would like to have a guy like Dustin Pedroia. And look, Machado gets himself into the middle of these things sometimes, but I do not. The wrong thing was going in with the spikes high, but I don't think he had any intent to hurt Dustin Pedroia. I think he went in hard. And look, we have really softened things here as to what is considered. I mean, look at that. You ever want to go on YouTube and look at Hal McRae going into second baseman for the Yankees and for the A's in the playoffs in the mid-'70s? He knocked him into left field. So, I mean, the whole perspective of what is a hard slide and what isn't a hard slide has really changed. Same thing with catches, as we know. But I think this could be the play, too, that people look back and maybe there's more of a decision made on maybe there should be stiffer suspensions monetarily and game-wise. Or when you throw at a guy's head, that is unacceptable what Matt Barnes did. Unacceptable.
Well, and baseball continues to sort of allow this and sort of slap pitchers on the wrist and give them the old 10-game suspension that means like one start by the time they shimmy it a little bit. And that's been wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We're going to solve it with the unwritten rules and all that. By the way, Andy, whenever you get a chance, can you write down the unwritten rules for me so I'll have them written down?
We used to talk to Joe Madden about this quite a bit, and his point was, how come someone that in maybe the 1920s decided this is the way we do it, why did he get to set the tone for the next century on how this game is played? And that's why Joe has been successful and why some people don't like him. Is that because they're uncomfortable when things change along the way? But these bizarre unwritten rules, I mean, we talk about this every April. It's ridiculous. Go play baseball. I don't care if you bunt if a no-hitter's going on. I don't care if you slide hard into second base. I don't care if you barrel over the catcher. The players ultimately decide how this gets done. And I just don't think that this mindless, this is the way we've always done it is the answer to anything. To me, if you're going to move the game forward, you move the game forward, and you don't say this is the way we've always done it. I think that's a real plague in this game.
If we did it the way we always done it, the Cubs would have never won a World Series, right?
Isn't that right?
Think it's true, right?
Anybody can have a bad century,
Andy Freed joining us here. He is the longtime voice of the Tampa Rays back in town, homeland of Ellicott City, but he's down there wearing sandals and, dressing more like John Miller than Chuck Thompson, probably, right?
Well, John was awesome, too. And I don't think I could pull it off. John could pull it off wearing a Hawaiian shirt and shorts to the game, and I loved him for it because that was him expressing himself. And that was just a wonderful thing.
It also got him a one-way ticket to San Francisco, where things have been better over the last 20 years than they've been here. So,
well, John, and I say Chuck too. I mean, John was fabulous, and I'll never understand why he's still not the voice of the Orioles.
Oh, I will. I've met the owner, so that's.
Oh man,
Andy, hey man, have a good couple days here. No tourist crab cakes for you. Don't beat us up too much. I don't know if you know this. We're having a good year here. I mean, please don't do anything to get in the way of all that. And a lot of American League East activity. We'll be seeing you guys plenty throughout the course of the season. So far, so good for your squad there. We'll be keeping an eye on you.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. I always love hearing you, and when I hear your Baltimore accent, I feel like I'm home.
Oh, you're home, Andy Freed. Don't you forget it. See you soon, bud.
Thank you.
You got an Andy accent? What accent? I ain't got no accent. You can find me out in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn. I should do my Baltimore accent more often. I've got it patented. I used to have more fun on the show. I'm too damn serious these days. We got things to be serious about. We got the road trips going on. We got the draft happening on Thursday night. Caps are in the playoffs. I'll be broadcasting from Pittsburgh all next week for games 3 and 4 with the ins and that. I'll probably gain a couple of pounds, and I will not drink their beer. I promise you that. That's one thing you do not have to worry about me doing in Pittsburgh is drinking the local swill. But I will be there all week. I have not been to that hockey rink, so I'm looking forward to that. Been a little while since I've spent a couple of days in Pittsburgh. I promise not to bring the accent home, or Mike Tomlin for that matter, which is, I did that last spring. Big problem. You can find me anywhere the internet is served in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault or Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, or Facebook Live or YouTube on our WNSTV channel. And don't forget our road trips now on sale. $100 off across the board for the next 2 weeks through next week for Green Bay, for Nashville, for Minneapolis, for London. We're marking them down for the first week and giving sort of the early bird special for anybody that wants to go with us and is serious about going with us. 18,000 of you have gone with us since 1996. I did the math on it. It's pretty cool. Hope to take a couple hundred more of you with us to London and Minnesota and Green Bay and Nashville. They're up under the road trips tab now. And you can always email me, nasty@WNST.net. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.